Hey guys, it's Ace here and welcome to Behind the Net, the online series focused on having real conversations with real people from the sports industry. Be sure to do those three things: like, comment and subscribe. I can't think of a better way to kick off series 1 than with my special guest right here. Hannah, welcome to Behind the Net.
What's poppin'?
How are you? What have you been up to?
I'm good, just been chilling, working. Just chilling, do what you can do in a pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, for me to have you on series 1 is, one, it's International Women's Month.
Yeah.
Great way to celebrate the amazing things that women are doing. But just your background in the sports industry alone, I think it's a story that's definitely worth sharing. The whole point about this series is us, or myself should I say, highlighting the amazing things that people do off the field, whether that's on the football field, the tennis court, whatever it is, whatever sport you do.
Yeah.
There's so much amazing things going on behind closed doors. I don't think people are celebrated enough or have the opportunity, should I say, to share their story about things or issues that they're going through. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
No, I appreciate it.
Big love.
I mean, for those who don't know you, just explain to those watching, listening, what it is you do.
Okay, cool. Don't do a lot, to be honest. No, I'm joking. So I'm Hannah Baptiste. I'm growing up in South London. I play football. I played with Ace before as well. We played together at AFC Wimbledon. I love working with young people. I love, just giving them a hope, believing in them, just supporting them, and just letting them know that they have a future and they can achieve the goals and dreams that they have. I just advocate for mental health in women's sports and just in sports in general. I think it's so taboo still, and people don't actually know what athletes go through when they're playing sports and the mental battles they have to face. And I'm also just an advocate for kind of diversity and inclusion in the women's game, especially because I know for me growing up playing football that I was always hyper visible and one of the only black girls on the field a lot of the time. So for me, that was another mental and battle that I had to face while playing football. So I just think it's important to talk about it and just let the young girls knowing that are coming through the ranks and playing that, there might not be a lot of kind of role models up there, but to just keep pushing and keep believing in yourself, because you could be the one that makes a difference.
Exactly. I think just on that point you mentioned about hypervisible, I think even for me, we met at Wimbledon. You were the only person that looked like me.
Literally.
And naturally you're drawn to somebody who, because you share just based alone, somebody who looks like you're just drawn towards them.
Right.
It's got nothing to do with anyone else on the team. I've got so many amazing friends that I've made through football. But just like you said, like I've always been either the only black girl or the only girl of, as they say, of colour on my team. And that in itself is a battle, because when there's certain other issues going on in the world and things are being discussed, like we know what's going on right now in the media and stuff, sometimes you feel, am I allowed to say certain things? Like, can I really truly express my opinion without certain terms or certain looks, because I'm the minority? People don't really fully understand. I mean, talking about your playing experience, you've got an amazing career. One of the things that people may not know is that you played at international level, both for England and now you represent Guyana. I mean, how does that even happen? How does it happen that you go from representing England at under 16 and now as an adult you're representing Guyana?
I mean, to be honest, because I was young, obviously when I played for England, it just kind of happened. I was playing for, I think, Charlton Centre of Excellence at the time, and then I just got the opportunity and I represented them for one tournament. And then just over the years, like obviously nothing happened, and like I struggled with football, to be honest, my football journey, because just always being a minority and being the only black girl, I found it difficult to just stay engaged with something that I loved still, because no one understood me, I didn't have support. Like when I experienced certain things, I couldn't even speak to anyone about it, my coach, no one, because they would never know what I'm going through. They don't know what it's like to be in my shoes ultimately. So I found it really difficult. And so I found other kind of hobbies, like where I actually had a group of black friends, and I actually just enjoyed just being there and just being able to be myself and not have to kind of be quiet and just conform, because I didn't want to be hyper visible in those in the football environment. So kind of I found it really hard. And then, do you know what? I was just like, I wonder how, or even if it's possible for me to play for the Guyanese national team.
Right.
Because my parents, technically, they're not they're not Guyanese citizens.
Yeah.
So they don't have the passport. They don't, they don't have all that stuff. So if it was to happen, it would have to be through my grandparents.
Right.
So then I spoke to a girl who plays for the Guyanese national team. She's in the UK. She plays over here at the moment.
Okay.
I just DM'd her literally randomly, and I was like, is it possible to go through your grandparents and play? And she was like, yeah, it is. And then, okay, I kind of just left it there. And then a few months later, she gets in contact with me and basically is like, this guy Paul's basically trying to get in contact with you. And Paul's basically the international coordinator for the Guyanese women's national team. And so she's like, he's trying to get in contact with you. He's obviously known that we spoke, and I've told him that I have your information, so I kind of give him your number. So then she gave him my number,
right.
And me and him spoke, and then there was a tournament that year, so I went out to Guyana for the World Cup qualifiers in 2018, where he played Barbados, Suriname and Bermuda.
That's dope, man.
Yeah, so that was an experience in itself. It was mad, and it's funny because one of my friends, Shaq, she plays with Barbados, so we were both there. We're both there together, like, hey, you know what I mean? So it's just banter, and then even like just playing in England again, I've met one of the girls that was actually at the tournament, and she was on the Bermudan team, and me and her are really good friends now as well. So it's just funny because all three of us were at that tournament together, just on different teams, and now we're all in England and all like really good friends, and we played together at one point on the same team. So it's just mad. It's like full circle, isn't it?
Football is a small world. Like if you don't know somebody directly, you know somebody who knows somebody else. Like that's just literally the football world.
Right.
I mean, what would you say would be the biggest difference between when you were playing for England? I know you touched upon the fact that you felt that people didn't really understand you, and you felt quite alone, even though it was a sport that you love and it's a hobby of yours. It's very passionate to you. But thinking about maybe not even just that aspect, but even just thinking about like the training and stuff, what would you say was the biggest difference that stood out from England and Guyana?
I think obviously England, the sport's been going on for years. The women's game is very progressive, and it has a lot behind it. Whereas Guyana's not so much. Like the infrastructure, that type of stuff is not there. So yeah, that was different in itself. But then playing for Guyana, I love it so much more than I've ever loved playing in England, because the contrast is so different. Like in England, I'm the only black player on the team, and I'm hyper visible. I feel like I'm on my own, and feel like I'm not comfortable. Whereas playing in Guyana, you've got girls from all over the world, girls of all different ethnicities, and it's just a beautiful thing when we all come together, and everyone feels at home, everyone feels like together, and no one feels like an outsider. And we've got our Guyanese girls, we've got our girls from Canada, we've got our girls from England, America, you name it, and it's also beautiful because obviously the infrastructure in Guyana is not great, so technical and tactically they're not amazing, because it's still a progress that's moving forward, and they're trying to better it as time goes on. So being able to go over there and help, as well as just help, like when we're doing training camps, for example, being able to help and assist the Guyanese girls to kind of just understand drills, understand tactics a bit more. That I love that as well, because it's just a coming together of just different ethnicities and different cultures to help each other. And that's, for me, that is what football should be about, and what it's about. And you should always feel like you're comfortable, you're at home, and you have allies, you have people that have your back. And that's the one place I've played, and that's the only time I've ever felt that. And it's crazy, because I've played for how many years, and so I just love being with the team, obviously.
So who would you say is somebody you feel has been like a massive influence to you within the game?
I think in terms of football career, I think Eniola Aluko is definitely up there. As a young girl, I watched her play she played for Charlton when I was at the Centre of Excellence, so I watched her playing for the women's team, and that was one player that actually looked like me, so I could actually appreciate that and be like, I want to be her or be like that one day. And I think it's so important that girls have that, something they can identify with. But also because of she just stands up when she sees injustice happening, and I don't think enough people do that. When the whole incident went on with the England team, and she saw injustice and racist stereotypes being put on other players, she said, no, I'm not going to stand for that. I can see what's taking place is unacceptable, and I can either sit here and listen to it and pretend it's not happening, knowing that the player that the things are being said to is probably gonna go through whatever she's going through, or I can stand up and say it could end my career ultimately.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I
It nearly
stand,
did.
Right. She never played for England after that very much, I'm sure. But, or I can stand up and say, you know, this is not right. I'm going to stand for it, and I'm going to use my voice and speak up. And that's what she did. And I think that speaks volumes to the woman that she is.
Definitely.
And it speaks volumes of just what an amazing person and ally and support system she is to other players of colour. And just me looking up and seeing that is just makes me want to be like her in terms of speaking out when I see injustice.
So true.
And I think she's awesome. Like, honest, she's dope. Honestly, she's dope.
Big props to Eni Aluko.
Come on, she big time.
I think that is very important because, like you said, when she spoke up, there was so much risk involved in regards to her career. You know, this is not just something she does, but it's what she does for a living. And like we said, she never played for England again. After that, and she probably felt so isolated. I can't imagine what that must really feel like to something you do every day stops because of an injustice to you. I mean, I guess that brings me to my question about social media. You know, I've been racially abused on social media, and one of the things I found was when I did report it, pretty much nothing happened. I just got that message back saying there's nothing they can do based on freedom of speech, basically, is what they were saying. Social media can be a beautiful thing. But my problem with it is that these cowards, what I call them, are very confident behind the screen to say how they feel. And yes, you're entitled to your opinion, but this is not an opinion thing. This is you calling me out of my name because of the colour of my skin. And again, like you said, feeling so alone because you feel like, what is the point?
Because no one cares.
No one cares. And I also feel like this is where it crosses over into the sport industry because we still are seeing players. At every level, not even just at the pro level, at the grassroots level as well, we're seeing players receiving either directly or indirectly, and they feel like, well, where do I go? And if I do go to certain places or, you know, organisations who, you know, are advocating for this, what is the point? Because nothing is happening.
We do get a slap on the wrist and we move. And that's another thing that I have a big issue with is the fact that you'll speak your truth, you'll say what's happened. First of all, that in itself, speaking out is a big thing in itself. Saying this has happened to me, that's a big thing because you've experienced that, you've had to deal with all the pain and all the emotions and all the mental battles that you might have faced having to deal with that, and you've then gone, do you know what, let me speak out and say something. But then for that to be disregarded as not important is mad. There's social media, you know, it can be used for good or it can be used for bad. Like you said, keyboard warriors are gonna use it as a way of them communicating and tearing people down ultimately. I think the real issue is who is at the top and who is controlling these social medias, and they're people that don't look like you and me ultimately, and they will never know what it's like to have a DM saying, oh, you look like a monkey, or calling you the N-word, and therefore they disregard it as not being important and being insignificant. And that's the issue is we need to change the culture and the narrative of who's making those decisions at the top, and the only way we can do that is by like I was on Clubhouse and there was a woman and she basically stepped down and said, you know, this board is full of white people, not one black person, so I'm stepping down and I want you to replace my seat with a black person. I think a lot of times it is people stepping aside and saying, you know what, I'm on a table and everyone looks like me, and we're probably going to have very similar opinions about these decisions. So why don't I step aside and give my seat to someone that can actually challenge these ideas and actually come from a different background, come from a different place, come from a different perspective, and actually make an actual impact on what we're doing. And I think it's that's how change is going to happen. But also just being allies, having allies, people that support you, people that believe in you, people that say, you know, I see what's happening, and you know what, I got your back, you're not alone. And then there's education, people educating themselves.
So true. Allies and education. Yeah, definitely. It's so important. I mean, especially in a sport where you you meet so many people from different backgrounds, it's important that there's allies, not just even just for us as black people, but we should also be allies for injustice against people from different cultures or religion, or, you know, people from the LGBT community. We need to be allies to them as well. You know, it works both ways. It can't just be us expecting support when things happen to us. We also need to support when there's injustice against others. So it's getting deep.
I've been on Clubhouse quite a bit, and we've been actually talking about diversity and inclusion in football, and one of the ladies said something, and it really, like, I was like, yeah, I rate it. But she was basically, because it is a matter of either we have allies and people that are in the high places that stick up for us. They see the injustice taking place. They're educated or are educating themselves. People need to educate themselves. And there's so many books out there, you know, go read, please, because until you understand it fully, then you can't speak on it and you can't make decisions for us. But, oh shit, what was I saying?
We're getting so deep. All right, I think we're talking about the fact that you were saying you met somebody on Clubhouse.
Yeah, so she was basically saying, we need people to ally for us, because we can't make a change by ourselves, because we need people in the high places and they're not giving us a seat. We need a seat. First of all, we need seats. And she was saying, you know, she was on the board of her child's school or whatever, and it was all white male, like 20 people or whatever, and 13, no, maybe like 16 of them were white males, and then 4 of them were white females. And she said, nah.
Yeah.
She said, I'm resigning, but I'm resigning so you can fill this with a person of colour.
Right. And
sometimes it's people
like that
educating themselves on the topic, realising they have a seat at the table and they're surrounded by people that look like them, and so what impact and difference are they actually making, and are they actually hearing opposing views and opinions that can represent everyone? And if they're not, realising, do you know what, let me give my seat to someone that can actually make a bigger impact than I'm actually going to make, because I'm just going to probably agree with the person sitting next to me, but bring him in or bring her in, a person of colour or a black person or whatever it is, so that they can speak from a different place and can have a different view on things, because and sometimes it's just you have to step aside.
You do, and I think that's the point. The nail on the head right there is you said opposing views, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you really want to have a diverse conversation, diverse team, you need diversity. You need people from all walks of life, so there can be opposing views, and you come together collectively, meet in the middle, and say, okay, taking this from you, taking this from you, taking this from you. This is how we're doing it.
Yep.
Like you said, if there's no one challenging the narrative never changes.
Right.
It's going to stay exactly the same. Alright, so, I mean, one of the things that I think people may not know about you is that you are a massive advocate when it comes to mental health and sport. If people followed you on your socials, they would have seen you very openly speak about a tragic incident that happened last year with a former Man City Academy player, which I'll let you talk about more in a minute. And I think that's also what inspired you to start Balling with Baps. Please let people know, how can they follow you to plug for that? What's your socials?
Hannah Baptiste on Instagram and Twitter, and then Balling with Baps on YouTube if you want to subscribe or watch any of my videos.
Definitely. Balling with Baps drops every Thursday.
Yeah.
So just back to my question on you being an advocate for mental health, and where does that stem from?
I think, like you were saying, last year the young man Jeremy Woodston committed suicide, and he was a former Man City player, and he was in their academy, and he was dropped, and I woke up to that news, and I remember like feeling extremely like just heavy, and just like it really hit me, like it really got to me, because I just thought of his journey and what he probably experienced and what mental battles he kind of probably went through. And I just thought about me and my journey and how it was probably very similar, but I've had support systems like my dad and stuff who have supported me and believed in me and pushed me and kept me going when I wanted to give up on my career and playing football.
Right.
And that really got to me, and so I was like, do you know what? To a point, like, emotional, like crying, and I was like, there's so many people in the world that are probably going through this, and no one's actually speaking about it, and because it's a taboo subject, and it looks like a weakness. Often a lot of people see it as a weakness when you're suffering with your mental health, and so they just rather not speak about it. They'd rather suffer in silence, and I think it's so important that we actually speak out and bring it to the surface. So true. Because the reality is there's so many people that are going through what we're going through, and sometimes you being vulnerable and speaking out is what they need to actually reach out and get the help that they need. And so I saw this, and so that's where my first video came from. And I just kind of just talked about, you know, what he probably experienced and my experience of growing up playing football and being an athlete, and how I kind of battled mentally with being an athlete and the feeling of not being enough, of watching minutes go by and sitting on the bench, comparing myself to my counterparts and being defined by the sport and my coach, and if they didn't say I was great, then
you're not feeling great.
Not performing, and just all of that. There's so much to unpack when it comes to just that in general. But so I just talked about that, and I didn't just keep it to football. I kind of said, you know, people have their different crafts, they have their different passions, they have the things that they love, and you know, you can relate it to that as well. And so whatever it is that you're doing, just remember you are enough.
Definitely.
You're enough.
Yeah, it's so true.
You're not defined by what the world says, what social media says, what your coach says. You're so much more than that, and there's so much more inside of you. So just don't focus on what other people say, and just believe in yourself, believe in your abilities and what's inside of you, because if you do, then you can go very far.
Of course. And I think the thing about we know the academies can be very cutthroat in their approach, you know, we know how it is. It's like that in the business world, in the working world, you know. The best of the best, or however somebody may, you know, one coach may see this player is amazing and another coach may have a completely different opinion. We've seen it in the Premier League, you know, players drop from one club, go to another club and they've blown up. So I don't think the issue is with the fact that he was dropped. I think the issue is the fact there was no support after that had happened. And I think that's where, you know, academies may need to look at their structure and say, okay, we need to remember these are adolescents, these are young people who, you know, adults can't deal with failure. Look at the fact of how this pandemic has affected so many adults and their mental health. So for an adolescent to go through something where they live, breathe and eat football, and you take that away from them for whatever the reason may be, where's the care package after that to help them transition into that new period or that new chapter of their life? I think it's so cutthroat where it's just like, sorry, we're not going to take you back next year, but good luck. Well, good luck doing what? You know, there's been no conversation about what that next chapter might be for them. So Balling with Bats, please make sure you're checking in with that every Thursday. Hannah's definitely on there dropping some nuggets, and I think it's really important that we're having these conversations whereby people are sharing their views, their opinions, how they're feeling. I always feel like a problem shared is a problem halved. So having a safe space like what you're offering is amazing for people to be able to feel comfortable enough to speak on things, or even if they don't want to speak on anything, they can listen and digest what you're really saying. So Hannah, it's been amazing having you. Thank you so much for joining me, especially to kick off the series with such a dope person and having such a deep conversation about so many topics surrounding sport. I appreciate your time. What are you looking to do for the rest of this year? I know we know it's a year that we are very restricted as to what we can and can't do, but I mean, what are your goals going forward this year in regards to what you're going to be doing?
I think so. As far as the national team, I think it's a matter of seeing what the pandemic holds. I guess we're meant to have a tournament at the end of the year, but it's just a matter of what happens.
Cool.
So just try and stay fit and play as much football as I can until we get the go ahead of that. But as far as work, you know, I'm doing a 9 to 5 at the moment, but it is soul destroying. Ultimately, it's not what I want to do. I'm not an office person, so ultimately that ends in the next couple of weeks. So I want to kind of work on me and work on, like, my passion is young people, seeing them achieve their full potential, seeing them believe in themselves, seeing them go for their dreams, and also being an advocate, obviously, of mental health in sports and just diversity and inclusion in the women's game. And those are the things I'm extremely passionate about. There's things that I'm going to continue to speak about as much as I can, and I think going forward that's something that I want to do as much as possible and make it kind of a thing where I can do that, and I can open the doors and ultimately get a lot more girls that look like me involved in the game and be a support system to them as well while they're playing the game, so they don't feel like they're alone. And when they might, which I'm hoping they don't, but experience, you know, stereotypes or whatever it is they might experience, they know that they're not alone, because I've seen so many players go through it and they're alone, and then it's, you know, whatever happens and it's not spoken of again. And so it's a matter of having a support system where they can go to and they can speak about it, and they can just be real raw and have those conversations, but then they have an ally and someone that's supporting them. And I think that's what we need to do. And so moving forward, that's something I want to do, and I'm hoping to start up some sort of organisation or whatever, looking to do that. But yeah, that's in my head right now. I'm going to take the time to work on myself and making that hopefully a possibility in the next year or so.
Man, I mean, I wish you all the best of luck with it. I feel like anything that you put your hands to is going to be amazing, just because of the person that you are. Like, I know you on a football basis, but we've got to know each other more outside of football. And I feel like you're definitely somebody who people are drawn to because you're so honest and you're so raw with it, but you also are just such a real person in regards to how you allow people to, like you said, be comfortable with feeling how they feel. So if anyone is listening, if you have any projects or any panels that you feel Hannah would definitely add value to what you are doing, hit her up on her socials. They can find you at
Hannah Baptiste on Twitter or on Instagram. Just jump in the DMs and I will holler back.
Just jump in the DMs. Okay, what we're gonna do, we're gonna finish off by, I'm gonna ask you one question before you leave.
Ooh, child.
So I posed a question in my DMs the other day about orange juice and apple juice, and got absolutely ripped when I said that I feel like I'm more of an orange juice lover than an apple juice lover. Right. No disrespect to the apple juice, I love it, but orange juice does something to me. So my question to you, as my first guest on series 1, if you had to choose orange juice or apple juice, and why?
Rah. So in my head I have 2 brands of both and they both bang. But on this occasion, actually no, just not even on this occasion, but the reality is I'm gonna have to pick orange juice. Right. Just because when you get that freshly squeezed orange juice, or have that Tropicana in the cold, it's a soul, it's a soul thing. Do you know what I mean?
It hits differently. So all you guys hitting me up on my DM talking about Ace, how you choose orange juice. It's already 1-0 on series 1. We'll see what it looks like.
Please.
We'll look what it seems. We'll have a look at what it looks like at the end of the series. But Hannah, thank you so much for your time. Those watching on YouTube, please make sure you do the 3 things: like, comment and subscribe. Be sure to slide into the comments. It'd be interesting to know your thoughts, you know, any people you would like to see on the show, or any topics you would like to be discussed. So Hannah Baptiste, thank you so much. Yes, you guys listening, thank you so much. I've been Ace, this is Behind the Net, and we're over and out.
Deuces.